This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Did you make a New Year's resolution? Some of you shared your goals at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook. And no surprise, many of you said at least one of your goals for 2012 is to speak English better. Daniel Kwan even went so far as to declare, "I'm definitely going to try to study English at least an hour a day." Jose Antonio Velarde says, "My first resolution is to speak English as fluently as my Spanish." And Tuti Riel says, "My New Year's resolution is to be able to speak English and Mandarin fluently and be a better person." Juwita Zulmi says she wants to improve her English and get a scholarship to study overseas. Another goal for 2012, a new boyfriend. Durley Johanna Barreto has these two resolutions: to speak English fluently and to get a job. Hsian Kim also has two goals: to lose weight and improve speaking English. And Katie Cecalina has these resolutions: don't eat meat, I'll take it easy, then to learn Spanish or Italian and find my real love. The last ones will be the most difficult, she thinks. Rafa Mintz's main goal is finishing high school and getting into a university. Lola Wesquito Octobrata says, "I am going to get married and finish my undergraduate study with good results." And Uma Sharif is ready for the next step this year, a master's degree. Handri Permana has this resolution: be more meaningful before my time's up on earth. And Handri has this advice for others: have fun seriously in life. DNL Pajirian has fun playing the video game Defense of the Agents, or DOTA. DNL says, "My New Year's resolution is I want to spend more time on my studying than playing Dota." Refki Aditya's resolution is to not be lazy about studying anymore. And Noor Chinifa says, "I want to be the best in my national examinations, to be a braver girl, and to take a scholarship abroad." Shara Radinka offered this comment: "My resolutions are to pass vocational school, get a scholarship, and visit Singapore and Malaysia." And Sita Adyuda is thinking of Australia in 2012. "I wish I could have a career abroad in my dreamland of Oz. And let's see, as I'm an optimist, I'm going to make it real this year. Ha ha ha." For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Go to voaspecialenglish.com to read, listen, and learn English with our programs and activities. You can also find live lessons at the VOA Learning English page on Facebook.
I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Most American schools have boys and girls in the same classroom, but a public high school in the small rural town of Boonesboro, Maryland, offers a special program. Top students in the 9th and 10th grades can attend single-sex classes for math, science, English, and social studies. The aim is to help teenagers keep their mind on their work by keeping males and females apart. Rebecca Brown chooses the students for what Boonesboro High School calls the Academy. She says, "What we really want to do is take that top group of kids and take them to the very highest level they can achieve here, so that they're prepared for college. Placement in the academy is voluntary. Students are invited after middle school. They need good grades, high test scores, and strong teacher recommendations. They also need to be involved in activities. Almost 350 students have taken part in the academy. It began as an experiment in 2004. Michael Baer has been at Boonesboro High for 20 years and directs the academy. His 9th grade English class for boys centers on books that he believes boys find interesting. One of those books, for example, is The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This classic story tells of a dog stolen from his home and sold to work as a sled dog during Canada's Klondike Gold Rush. On this day, the students are working in small groups. 2 students explain why they are drawing pictures that relate to the story. Drawing helps them visualize the setting of the story and gets them to think more about the important events of the story. Morgan Van Fleet is a senior at Boonesboro High. She likes being in the academy. She says boys and girls act differently when they are together in a classroom. She says it is easier to focus on the lesson and the homework in a single-sex class. There is one activity that girls and boys in the academy do together. At the end of the day, many of them stay and help tutor students who are having trouble in school. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Tell us what you think about single-sex classes. You can comment on our website, voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find transcripts and MP3s of our programs. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at VOA Learning English. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Outdoors in the open air seems like a natural place to study natural science. It also makes sense in a place like Southern California, where people like to be outside a lot. Now, the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County is working to bring the indoors to the outdoors for its visitors. The museum has redesigned an outdoor space into a living exhibit. This is a big change for the 1.5 hectare area. It used to include a parking lot. Now, instead of cars, it welcomes birds, butterflies, and other living things. Scientists who work at the museum come outside to describe plants and insects in the natural setting of this outdoor laboratory. Greg Pauly specializes in studying turtles, like the western pond turtle. He tells the students how development has changed its natural habitat. He says these turtles are happiest around small bodies of water that grow and shrink with the seasons. He tells the students that 150 years ago, before there were very many people in the area, all the streams were just seasonal streams. And the western pond turtle loved that habitat, he says, and with people, we have changed the habitat. Today, he says, there is a lot more permanent water, like a pond at the Natural History Museum itself. And He says the changing habitat is one reason why western pond turtles are shrinking in number. In addition to science lessons, the open-air exhibit can provide contact with nature in a way that some city children rarely get. Landscape architect Mia Lehrer says children can get real-life answers to questions they may be wondering about. For instance, she says some children do not know that ketchup comes from tomatoes, and they can see what strawberry plants look like to know that strawberries do not just come from a container in the store. Only parts of the new outdoor campus are open now, but Karen Wise says more changes are coming. Ms. Wise is the museum's vice president for education and exhibits. She says, now we are opening up the whole museum, making it an indoor-outdoor experience so that our visitors can be a part of the experience. The work is expected to be completed by June of 2013. Next year is the museum's 100th anniversary. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can read, listen, and learn English with more education stories at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find a video about the new outdoor exhibit at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in the American state of South Dakota is home to the Oglala Sioux tribe. It's also where Nikki Olette is in her first year as the journalism teacher at Little Wound High School. Miss Olette teaches the 12 students on the school newspaper, The Mustang News. She helps them choose story ideas if they need help. She says, sometimes if we're getting stuck, I'll kind of guide them along, but especially lately, they've been the one picking the articles. One student wanted to write her own column, comparing the weather to different parts of her own life. Another student wanted to start writing some song reviews. So now every 2 weeks, she picks out a couple of songs and writes a review about them. The reporters also cover news like a recent flood at the school caused by a broken water pipe. Yet the real story here is that Nikki Olette is the school's first journalism teacher in years. The Mustang News had stopped publishing, but now, not only is it back, copies are included every other week in the Lakota Country Times, a local newspaper. This way, school news reaches parents and other people in the community. Other student newspapers have been incorporated into Native American papers, but not many. The publisher of the Lakota Country Times, Connie Smith, says the public has welcomed the idea. She says, everywhere I go, people are talking to me about how proud they are. The kids do the news. They do the interviews. They take the pictures. Sometimes a teacher may have something that goes in, but mostly it's the students. Connie Smith says the quality is as good as some of the stories that are written by community members for the Lakota Country Times. The idea inspired 2 other schools on the Pine Ridge Reservation to publish their own papers. They take turns being included in the Times. Brooke Chase Alone works on the Mustang News at Little Wound High School. She says her favorite story so far has been covering the history of the annual Bigfoot ride. This is a 2-week trail ride from the Standing Rock Reservation to Wounded Knee. Wounded Knee was where government soldiers killed more than 200 Sioux in 1890. The Army called it a battle. Indians called it a massacre. Brooke has a personal connection to the story she wrote. Her grandfather, Percy White Plume, helped start the Bigfoot ride and one of the original riders, she says. She went to his house and interviewed him about his experience. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. For more ways to learn American English and stay informed every day, go to voaspecialenglish.com from your computer or mobile device.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. 9 years ago, Maine became the first American state to provide laptop computers to all 7th and 8th graders in public schools. The northeastern state has since expanded that program to about half of its high schools. Now, one school system in Maine has launched a project to provide tablet computers, the Apple iPad, to all kindergartners. Some people have criticized the project as a waste of money, but school officials expect it to increase learning. Lori Gerard teaches 5- and 6-year-olds at Sherwood Heights Elementary School in Auburn, Maine. Before the students collect their iPad, they say a rhyme to remind them how to be careful with it. Fingers on the bottom, thumbs on top. That way my iPad won't drop. Ms. Gerard plans to use different applications to help her create a learning plan for each student. The iPads have been in her classroom since the school year began in September. The principal of the school, Laura Shaw, says the iPads quickly let children know if they answer questions correctly. When you have 18 kids in the classroom and you see 10 kids hands raised up, the teacher does her best to get around. But sometimes, with the iPads and certain apps, the kids get immediate feedback. Almost 300 kindergartners in Auburn are using iPads this year. Project coordinator Mike Muir says he believes the computers can help students improve in reading and math. Less than 2/3 of the 3rd graders in the school system are at what are known as benchmark levels. Mr. Muir says, one of our literacy interventionists was working with several of her students and having a hard time with helping them be successful. She finally pulled out her own personal iPad and had them work on some apps for letter recognition and letter formation, and they met the benchmark very quickly. School districts in other states, including South Carolina, Tennessee, and Illinois, are also using iPads. The project in Maine costs $200,000. Most of that money is from the state and the federal government. Not everyone supports the project. Elliot Soloway is a computer science professor at the University of Michigan. It's ridiculous, he says, and not because of the iPads, but because of the amount of money. Is the iPad an effective learning tool? Educators in Maine plan to give a report at the end of the school year. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. About 1/5 of Americans aged 6 to 19 are considered overweight. To reduce that number, some schools are teaching children to make better food choices. The E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington has started to include food topics in its third grade math and English programs. The school formed a partnership with Seedling Projects, an environmental group in San Francisco, California. Peter Nally is a curriculum director for a program called Farm to Desk. He says they are doing this in part to address the issue of childhood obesity. He says one of the main components of our program is our belief that if kids are exposed to positive and healthy messaging about food throughout the instructional day, that has the most potential to impact long-term change. Teacher Hannah Chen recently used food examples to teach 8 and 9-year-olds in a math class how to make combinations. For example, they figured out the different combinations that could be made with a pizza and 2 toppings. School chef Makisha Day says the school buys most of its food from local farms. But the school has a garden for the students to grow some of the vegetables themselves. The children, they love it, she says. Teacher Hannah Chen agrees. She says, "We have a salad bar at the school, and now the kids love the salad bar. They love the fruits and vegetables. So I think it is making a big difference in their lives." She says the third graders have also learned to read the sugar and fat content listed on food packages. She says the E.W. Stokes Public Charter School in Washington plans to expand the Farm to Desk program to other grades next year. Charter schools get public money but do not have to follow the same rules as traditional public schools. Many charter schools have specialized areas of study, like Environmental Charter High School near Los Angeles. Students learn the importance of protecting the environment. Rigo Estrada says he used to be the kind of person who threw trash on the street. But now he has done things like clean up beaches and teach elementary school students about the importance of water conservation. He says he now knows that going green actually is a really serious topic. Students learn from teachers and outside experts, like the owner of an environmentally friendly business. They also learn how to prepare a business plan that they can use to help pay for college. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. A few years ago, a university researcher was having problems with an experiment that involved medical imaging. His advisor and his friends had no solutions. The researcher was Iyad Madish at Harvard in Massachusetts. "I was so frustrated," he says. His solution was to start a scientific network for researchers. It lets them connect with each other and share information about their research and their publications. ResearchGate is similar to another social network developed at Harvard, Facebook. But Mr. Madish says the purpose of his site is to make scientists more productive. He says his goal is to win a Nobel Prize. If we think that ResearchGate will accelerate research in all the different fields, it will change the speed of science significantly in the future. So I definitely do believe that ResearchGate could win the Nobel Prize for that one day. Mr. Modish received the support of investors, including a former Facebook executive and the same investment group that put money into Twitter. So far, 900,000 people have signed up as members of ResearchGate. One of those users is Caroline Moore Cokeless at Boston University. Her profile page shows her picture and her specialty, neuroscience. It also lists her doctoral advisor and the work she has published. She can follow other researchers and click on to group pages that discuss different subjects. She also uses Facebook, but says people almost never discuss science there. She says on ResearchGate, she can ask questions and learn about what other researchers are working on before they publish their results. She can also learn about recently published science. She says, the scientific literature is so huge at this point that it's really impossible to get through everything in your topic area. People really rely on hearing it from other people. But not every user is pleased with ResearchGate. Kim Bertrand at the Harvard School of Public Health is an epidemiologist, someone who studies the spread and control of diseases. Ms. Bertrand says she finds more value in her own offline network of researchers and advisors than in this online network. She says, sometimes I get these emails that are like, "Dear Sirs, I'm writing a dissertation on public health. Any suggestions? Please advise." I don't need that. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. To read and listen to more stories, go to voaspecialenglish.com. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. The Obama administration says American schools should produce students who are college and career ready. What is the best way to do that? The National Center on Education and the Economy has some ideas. The center will be working with 8 states on a project to test board examination systems. Students who volunteer will take board examination classes similar to those found in other parts of the world. Once they pass the exams, they can leave high school as early as the end of the second year. Mark Tucker is president of this nonprofit organization. He says the aim is to make sure students finish high school with enough skills to succeed in at least a 2-year college. He says, in the United States, one is expected to go to high school for 4 years, and you get a diploma just for showing up or attending. It doesn't particularly attest to any level of accomplishment. What we're trying to do here is to change the system in the United States from one that is based on the time that is spent in the seat to one that is based on your actual accomplishments. The state projects will start as early as September of 2011. They will involve 10 to 20 high schools in each of 8 states. The states include Connecticut, Kentucky, Maine, and New Hampshire. The others are New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont. Some educators and parents do not like the idea of sending students as young as 16 off to college. They say the students may not be socially ready for college. But Mark Tucker says students who pass the exams could stay in high school and take a demanding set of exams at the upper division level. That program is designed to prepare students for entrance into a competitive college or university. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has provided more than $1 million to start the program. Mark Tucker says he expects interest in the idea to grow. He says, "Our hope is that this will become the way school is in the United States. It will become the dominant way of going to high school." And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. Does your country use a board examination system? Tell us about it. You can post your comments at our newly redesigned website, voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. International students have a lot of questions about studying in the United States. But what do you suppose is the most common question? We asked an expert right here in our building. Jessica Stahl is editor of VOA's Student Union blog. Jess blogs for international students interested in American higher education. She says the #1 question she gets is about financial aid and scholarships. Money is everyone's biggest concern. But unfortunately, that question is also the one with the most complicated answer. The short answer is this: financial aid programs are often just for American students, but programs for international students do exist. You just have to look for them. Jess says probably the next most often question is about language skills. People want to know how to improve their English. Of course, one way many students improve their English is with special English, like this program. But we like the Student Union's glossary of confusing words used in education. Readers can send in suggestions. One newly added word is catalog. An international student advisor wrote to say that new students generally have no idea what a university catalog is. So the glossary now includes this definition: a university catalog or college catalog is an official publication that contains all of the information a current or prospective student might need about academics and student services at a university. Jess has a group of foreign student bloggers at American schools. Even they were unsure what a catalog is. The students share their experiences studying in the United States. For example, how they feel when they face cultural stereotypes. Simba from Zimbabwe recently wrote about going to lunch with a group of American students. Simba said he felt hurt when one of them was surprised to learn that Facebook is available in Zimbabwe. Jess says the Student Union and its Facebook page get a lot of comments. She hears from a lot of students from China, Pakistan, Nigeria, Indonesia, pretty much all over the world. Jess gave us a list of websites where you can research colleges and universities, financial aid, and more. You can find that list at voaspecialenglish.com. She says the only must-know site for all international students is Education USA from the State Department. The address is educationusa.info. And if you only know one other site, it should be Study in the States from the Department of Homeland Security. That address is studyinthestates.dhs.gov. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Persutti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Parents are a child's first teachers, but some parents never learned from good examples. In New York City, a nonprofit agency called Covenant House tries to help homeless young mothers become good parents. The 12 or so teenagers who live at the shelter attend parenting classes 4 days a week. The class is called Mommy and Me. Teacher Dolores Clemens is a mother of 5 and a grandmother. She teaches basic skills, like how to give a baby a bath and how to dress a baby depending on the season. She remembers one student who learned from her mother not to pick up a crying baby. The mother said that would only make the child needy and overly demanding. Dolores Clemens told the student, "That's not true. You have to hold your baby. He is crying for a reason. If you never pick him up, he is going to keep crying. Pick your baby up. Cuddle your baby. Hug him." Dolores Clemens says her students also learn how to be good mothers by letting themselves be mothered. She said, "I'm doing something for them that never has been done for them before." Around 350 teenage mothers graduate from Covenant House's Mommy and Me class every year. Natasha is in class one day with her baby son. She lived on the streets. She is glad not only for the warmth and shelter of Covenant House, she is also glad for the help they offer in seeking a more secure life. She said, "They help you do your resume, your cover letter, and everything you need for a job interview. And they help you find a job." Some teenage mothers wish they could be children themselves again. 18-year-old Placida knows that feeling. She says being a mother is hard. She said, "You have to get up every 2 hours in the middle of the night, and you can't go out and say, 'I am going to buy this for myself.' No. I have to buy Pampers, clothes, and food." The World Health Organization says the United States has 41 births for every 1,000 girls age 15 to 19 per year. That is higher than other developed countries, as well as some developing ones. By comparison, Canada has 14 births for every 1,000 girls age 15 to 19, and Mexico has 82. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can comment on this report at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. About 18,000 refugees from Burma have come to the United States each year since 2007. Some have settled in Howard County, Maryland, between Baltimore and Washington. A local school began teaching English to the children of the refugees. But while the children learned the language, their parents did not. Currently, almost 50 Burmese youngsters attend Bowman Bridge Elementary School. Laurel Conran teaches English to speakers of other languages. One of her students is Tane Jiang. Another student is Tane's mother, Thien Yang. The teacher practices English with the mother at the mother's workplace. Many Burmese refugees work at Coastal Sunbelt Produce. The company supplies fruits and vegetables to restaurants and other businesses. Laurel Conran started English classes there to help refugees from the country also known as Myanmar. The program is a 6-week session held every Wednesday from 12 to 1 o'clock. Each week, Ms. Conran goes to Coastal Sunbelt. As the Burmese workers eat lunch, they also practice their new language skills. They sit with an English-speaking volunteer in small groups. Lisa Chertok is a manager at the company and also has a child at Bowman Bridge. She helped Ms. Conran develop the lessons. When the Burmese employees got here, they were very, very shy. Now, I find that they are more responsive as employees. They are more communicative. And as parents, they are also more involved in their children's school. Jonathan Davis is the principal of Bowman Bridge Elementary School. He says, "I really see it as the beginning of a great partnership between a business and a school. And we've just begun to scratch the surface with how that could benefit, really, the greater community." Mr. Davis hopes the lessons will help Burmese parents feel better about communicating with the school. Even as simple as making a phone call to say that their son or daughter is sick, even if that's the amount of English that they have gotten from the program, that truly will help us. For their work, Laurel Conran and Lisa Chertok received a Community Builders Award from Howard County. Ms. Conran says, "As a community, we want to work together collaboratively because when everybody works together, it's a win-win situation." And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. We have a video about the program at voaspecialenglish.com. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Question: which program is in Guinness World Records as the world's longest-running TV quiz show? Answer: it's Academic, a Saturday morning program for high school students. The show has aired in the Washington area for 50 years. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton competed on it when she was a teenager. Teams from local schools answer questions on subjects like history, literature, math, science, religion, politics, and sports. Susan Altman is the producer of It's Academic. She says, "It's a great age group to work with. They're fun, they're enthusiastic, they say funny things without even meaning to half the time." Ms. Altman's mother, Sophie, was a TV producer in the 1950s. She started It's Academic after local school officials asked her to create a program that showed outstanding students. Susan Altman says, at that time, 1961, the United States was going through a lot of upheaval with school integration, and they wanted things to help out, to make the schools look good, and to show that integration could work and work well. So this is what she came up with. The show's host, Mac McGarry, says, when we first started, the young people from various countries were not evident so much. Now, each program presents young people from all over the world, at least descendants from people all over the world. Mac McGarry is 84 and has hosted It's Academic since the beginning. He says, every time I look up, I see people who are just 17 years old, and somehow I think, well, I must not be growing older at all. Their enthusiasm is contagious, no question about it. More than 20,000 students have appeared on the show. Mac McGarry has asked more than 200,000 questions and gotten more than a few funny answers. We had a question one time, who defeated Napoleon at Waterloo? And the young fellow answered, Duke Ellington. Another time, we had a question of, who, along with Frederick Engels, wrote the Communist Manifesto? Groucho Marx. The correct answers, of course, are the Duke of Wellington and Karl Marx. Rockville High School in Maryland has won the championship on the show several times. Kelly Reeder led the team last year. My friends who are on It's Academic think it's cool that I'm the captain of the A team, but my friends who are not on It's Academic think it's kind of funny. You can find a link to a video about It's Academic at voaspecialenglish.com. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. From VOA Learning English, welcome to the Education Report in Special English. Millions of students have been taught a formula that has nothing to do with chemistry or mathematics. The formula is for writing a 5-paragraph essay. First, write an introductory paragraph to state the argument. Then, add 3 paragraphs of evidence. Finally, write a conclusion. Linda Bergman is director of the Writing Lab at Purdue University in Indiana. Her job is to help students, including international students, improve their writing. Professor Bergman has worked with many students who learned this traditional 5-paragraph formula. She says international students sometimes have difficulty with this formula if they learned a different writing structure. But just knowing how to write a 5-paragraph essay is not going to be enough for a college student who has to write a longer academic paper. As Professor Bergman notes, the formula is too simple to deal with subjects that require deeper thought and investigation. Karen Goshik works for the Institute for Writing and Rhetoric at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. The Institute has a big library of online writing materials on its website. So, what are the qualities that make up good writing? Karen Goshik says there are no simple answers, except maybe for one. That is, there is no formula that students can follow to guarantee a well-written paper. In some cultures, students organize their paragraphs to build toward the main idea at the end of the paper. American college students are usually expected to state their thesis at the beginning of their paper. And American professors generally want students to use short sentences. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Reaction appears mixed to a recent United States Supreme Court decision on affirmative action in university admissions. Affirmative action in admissions means that schools give special consideration to some racial or ethnic minorities. The goal is to create a more diverse campus and to give more opportunities to groups that are underrepresented in higher education. The Supreme Court ruled that race can be one of many factors considered when a student applies to a college or university. The court said education benefits from having diverse student populations. Some legal experts thought the justices would strike down a 2003 Supreme Court ruling. That ruling let universities use race in admissions decisions, but as just one factor among others. In the new decision, the justices did not deal with the question of affirmative action itself. Instead, the justices sent the case back to a lower court for further consideration. A white woman who had been denied admission to the University of Texas at Austin brought the case. Abigail Fisher argued that it was wrong to reject her when minority students with similar grades and test scores were accepted because of affirmative action. Wade Henderson is president of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. He said the new decision confirms that race can be a factor in admissions. Ada Malloy is with the nonprofit American Council on Education. She says many schools do not generally give special consideration to race or ethnicity of applicants. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Security risks are said to be widespread in the southern Afghan province of Kandahar. Yet, the number of women working in Kandahar has risen during the past year. The provincial government employs more than 1,150 women, most of them as teachers. That is up from about 900 female teachers last year. Kandahar is the former power base of the Taliban and its leader, Mullah Muhammad Omar. The Taliban ruled Kandahar from 1994 to 2002. During that period, women were banned from working outside the home. Most girls could not attend school. This year, 500 girls will complete high school. Mohammed Awaz Nazari is an education official in the province. He said Kandahar has about 47,000 female students, and the numbers are rising. He described an increasing demand for jobs among both educated and uneducated women. In addition to government jobs, women are working for private businesses. Mariam Durrani operates a local radio station. She says women in Kandahar need more job opportunities, but she adds they must strengthen the gains they have already made. A non-governmental group, the Afghan School Project, has given women scholarships that can lead to careers. The recipients attend programs at the Kandahar Institute of Modern Studies. The institute offers training in business management, information technology, English, and communications. Some Afghans have expressed concern that the Taliban could regain power after international forces leave Afghanistan. And they say the progress of women's rights could be lost if that happens. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report in Special English. The Afghan Youth Orchestra performed in the United States in February. 48 young musicians traveled from Kabul to play at some of the most famous American music halls. They performed at the Kennedy Center in Washington and Carnegie Hall in New York City. The last stop was Boston, Massachusetts, where they performed at the New England Conservatory of Music. The musicians perform versions of Western classical compositions and also traditional Afghan music. Violins and trumpets played along with the rubab and a sitar in a performance of Bolero by Maurice Ravel. The State Department and the United States Embassy in Kabul funded most of the trip. Secretary of State John Kerry called the young musicians ambassadors of peace. Afghanistan's former Taliban rulers banned music when they took power in 1996. Also, under the Taliban, girls were not permitted to be educated after the age of 8. Today, music is studied and played freely in Afghanistan. The musicians in the orchestra are male and female, and between the ages of 10 and 22. Most are orphans or were homeless. Ahmad Sarmast started the orchestra. A few years ago, he founded the Afghanistan National Institute of Music in Kabul. The youth orchestra developed from that school. Ahmad Sarmast says he is very pleased with the accomplishments in such a short time. He says the idea of the trip was to change the way people view Afghanistan. The children, he says, are ambassadors of Afghan culture, whose efforts reflect the changes in their country in the last 10 years. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. American educators plan to launch 50 new schools in Kenya. The new schools of Bridge International Academies are set to open in January, at the beginning of Kenya's school year. The goal of the private group is to educate children of families who make $2 a day or less. They opened their first school in Kenya in 2009. Since then, the number of schools has increased to 200. Bridge officials Shannon May, Jay Kimmelman, and Phil Fry say they want to educate 10 million children around the world. On the Bridge International Academy's website, the three friends say their effort began with a question. They asked why there were no plans to educate all the world's poorest children. They expect their early education business to make a profit, even though it is designed for very poor areas. Their low-cost plan uses new technology to help teachers and to follow student progress. It also tracks operations in each school. They call this new system Academy in a Box. Every Bridge teacher uses a Nook e-reader. The electronic reader provides teachers with daily lessons. The school provides students with books that match the electronic lessons. The lessons have been developed by trained educators for all Bridge International Academy's classes. The lessons are designed to meet the requirements of Kenya's National Education Plan. Bridge's large class sizes and teaching methods are not usual in the schools of developed countries. They are not considered the best for learning. Yet, supporters say the Bridge operation compares well with public education in Kenya. The average cost to attend a Bridge school is about $5 a month. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Current and former students from Berklee College of Music in Boston recently returned to the United States after 3 weeks in Kenya. They were part of a cultural exchange program aiming to influence lives through music. They taught music, performed, and donated instruments to a Kenyan community center. They also learned about traditional Kenyan music. Music is an important part of life in Kenya. Sam Lutomia works for the Berklee College of Music, but he was born and spent his early years in Kenya. He helped to create a group called Global Youth Groove. Its goal is to bring Western music to young Kenyans and get them to consider music as a career. Mr. Lutomia says he started talking with Berklee students and teachers, and they all liked the idea. Then they started collecting musical instruments. 13 Americans made the trip to Kenya in July. They included 4 high school students from the Boston area. The first stop was Nairobi. There, they got a chance to meet with local musicians and listen to them play. Project coordinator Aaron Culverson says the American group presented a gift during a visit to Kakamega in western Kenya. The gift included about 20 instruments, some recorders, and an entire drum kit. The Americans also gave out laptop computers and recording software. Many Kenyans attended the activities offered by the group. One Berkeley student, David Chapman, said for some of the Kenyans, it was the first time to see and touch such instruments. Aaron Culverson says music can give someone a sense of power. When you put music in front of children, he says, it seems that their minds open up. Music gives them a chance to express themselves through songs and writing the songs. The Americans also performed at a national music festival. During the trip, Aaron Culverson says they met with local musicians and listened to them play. They also learned about traditional Kenyan instruments, dances, and songs. Trip organizer Sam Lutomia says he is happy with the levels of energy the exchange program has produced. He hopes the trip will take place every year and expand to neighboring countries. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. You can learn English and stay informed every day from your computer or mobile device at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and iTunes at VOA Learning English. This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Stephen Weinberger is the Director of Linguistics in the English Department at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Students in his beginning phonetics class are mostly interested in teaching English as a second language. They wanted to study how non-native speakers pronounce different sounds. So we sent the students out to record non-native speakers, and we compared those speakers to each other and to native speakers of English. Professor Weinberger wrote a 69-word paragraph for all of the speakers to read. The paragraph uses common words but contains almost all of the sounds used in English. Here it is. Please call Stella. Ask her to bring these things with her from the store. 6 spoons of fresh snow peas, 5 thick slabs of blue cheese, and maybe a snack for her brother Bob. We also need a small plastic snake and a big toy frog for the kids. She can scoop these things into 3 red bags, and we will go meet her Wednesday at the train station. In 1999, Professor Weinberger put the recordings online. The Speech Accent Archive is for anyone who wants to compare and analyze the accents of different English speakers. Some people think the archive would be better if it included natural speech, people talking freely, not just reading the same words. Professor Weinberger recognizes the strengths and weaknesses of his site. The biggest plus, of course, is that it is so uniform that you can immediately compare a Kiswahili speaker to a native English speaker. But the downside is that a less than skilled reader will have difficulties with the paragraph that might not demonstrate their true phonetic abilities. People often use sounds from their first language until they can reproduce the ones used in the language they are learning. Professor Weinberger says the site gets 1 million visits a month. We get notices from speech pathologists, from computational engineers who do speech processing, from PhD students who want to do research on bias and accent judgments, from actors who need to learn a special part. The archive contains more than 1,500 recordings. Professor Weinberger would like more people to send in their own samples. There are about 6,000 languages in the world today. The archive only has samples from about 350 of them. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. This week on our program, we answer a question from Japan. A listener named Maki would like to know if the test known as the TOEIC is popular in the United States. TOEIC is the test of English for international communication. It measures the ability of people to communicate in the workplace using everyday English. The Educational Testing Service in Princeton, New Jersey, develops and administers the TOEIC. It says more than 9,000 organizations use the test in more than 90 countries. Each year, the TOEIC is taken in the United States about 20,000 times. So how popular does that make it? Well, consider that last year the test was given more than 5 million times worldwide. Non-native English speakers take the test to demonstrate their English skills when seeking a new job or a promotion. Some organizations use the TOEIC to measure progress in English training programs and as a placement test. The cost of the test is set locally in each country. The TOEIC is really two tests. People can take one or both of them. One is a paper and pencil test. It measures listening and reading skills. The other test is given on a computer. It measures speaking and writing skills. 11 questions on the computer test require speaking. For example, the test taker is asked to read out loud or describe a picture. 8 other questions require written answers, including an opinion essay. We visited the ETS website for more information about the TOEIC, but one of the first things we saw was a warning about a phishing scam. A phishing scam is a kind of crime that uses email to trick people into providing financial or other personal information. In this case, the emails claim to be from the Educational Testing Service. Spokeswoman Christine Bettinelli advises people taking the TOEIC to be suspicious of any emails claiming to be from ETS. They should be especially suspicious of messages that ask for information that they have already provided for the test. The spokeswoman says if you get an email you are not sure about, forward it or send a separate message to contactets@ets.org. And that's the VOA Special English Education Report. You can learn more about English language tests from our Foreign Student Series at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find transcripts, podcasts, and captioned videos of our reports, and post comments and questions.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. Last time, we talked about massive open online courses, also called MOOCs. Tens of thousands, or even more people, can take these classes all at once. You can be anywhere in the world to take a MOOC. All you need is a computer and a network connection. MOOCs add to a tradition of what is known as distance learning. For years, many colleges have offered classes that are taught partly or mostly online. MOOCs are available in subjects like computer science, engineering, or mechanics. Can MOOCs in subjects like arts or the humanities be as effective? Scott Anderson teaches philosophy at the University of British Columbia in Canada. He sees both good and bad sides to online courses. Mr. Anderson believes that some parts are fine. For example, when a teacher gives a presentation to the class, there is no special reason why students need to be physically present to hear it. And he says there is no reason why they need to be physically present to do readings. Mr. Anderson says increased numbers of people taking MOOCs can mean less communication between students and teachers. He says two ways to deal with this are by adding more teachers and graders and setting up online discussion groups. Lisa Jadwin teaches English and American literature and writing at St. John Fisher College in New York. She says online education has some weaknesses for her subjects. She says the teaching of literature requires face-to-face interaction. Professor Jadwin says some students could learn well from presentations and reading assignments, blogs, and discussion groups. But she believes that hybrid courses work best. She describes hybrids as mixing face-to-face course elements with computer-aided teaching and writing projects. Bill Pogue teaches communications at the University of Houston downtown. He says that after leading classes for more than 30 years, he would not attempt to teach a MOOC. However, Mr. Pogue sees good value in online education. He noted a strong sense of community in an online course he once took. He says the students work together on a project while living on 4 continents. He says this would be hard to repeat in a traditional classroom or face-to-face setting. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Get more education news and learn English at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Education Report. A class with tens or even hundreds of thousands of students might sound like a teacher's bad dream. But a big idea in higher education these days is the massive open online course, or MOOC. Some universities offer free non-credit MOOCs available to anyone in the world. Others charge for courses and provide credits. The idea is still developing. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology recently started its first MOOC. The school plans to offer many free non-credit courses through a project called MITx. So far, most massive open online courses are in computer science, technology, mechanics, and engineering. For example, students around the world are taking a free course called Building a Computer Search Engine. Two computer scientists, Sebastian Trun and David Evans, are offering this course through Udacity.com. Mr. Evans is on leave from the University of Virginia. Mr. Trun is a Stanford research professor and a Google Fellow best known for his work on a driverless car. For 6 weeks, the students watch short videos and then take informal quizzes. Mr. Evans says the quizzes are part of the lecture to keep students engaged and keep them thinking. The quizzes are not graded, and students can try them as often as they want, whenever they want. They can also watch the videos repeatedly. Students receive homework and join online groups to exchange questions and answers about the course. The teachers hold virtual office hours to answer questions that the students have voted to send them. They also present their own questions and observations. The students take a final examination to show where they rate in the class. Everyone who finishes the course receives a grade and proof of completion. Top students get letters documenting their work. Mr. Trun started Udacity, which supports free MOOCs. Udacity hopes to make a profit in the future by connecting possible employers with interested students. On his Stanford homepage, he says he wants to democratize education. Education, he says, should be free, accessible for all, everywhere, and anytime. David Evans says online courses can deliver high-quality education to many more students at much lower cost, but he recognizes the limits. His hope, he says, is that the best traditional universities will be able to focus on the things they can do really well that can't be done better through an online university. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. I'm Alex Villarreal with the VOA Special English Education Report. Some students get so nervous before a test they do poorly, even if they know the material. Sion Bylock is a psychology professor at the University of Chicago in Illinois. She has studied these highly anxious test takers. She says students might even start worrying about whether this exam is going to prevent them from getting into the college they want. She says when students worry, they use up attention and memory resources that could be used on the test. Professor Bylock and another researcher, Gerardo Ramirez, have developed a possible solution. Just before an exam, highly anxious test takers spend 10 minutes writing about their worries about the test. She said when students write about their worries on paper, they think about the worst that could happen. They might realize it is not as bad as they thought it was. And writing about it prevents these thoughts from popping up when they are taking the test. The researchers tested the idea on a group of 20 anxious college students. They gave them 2 short math tests. After the first one, they asked the students to either sit quietly or write about their feelings about the upcoming second test. The researchers added to the pressure. They told the students that those who did well on the second test would get money. They also told them that their performance would affect other students as part of a team effort. Professor Bylock says those who sat quietly scored an average of 12% worse on the second test. But the students who had written about their fears improved their performance by an average of 5%. Next, the researchers used younger students in a biology class. They told them before final exams either to write about their feelings or to think about things unrelated to the test. Professor Bylock says highly anxious students who did the writing got an average grade of B+, compared to a B- for those who did not. But what if students do not have a chance to write about their fears immediately before an exam or presentation? Professor Bylock says students can try it themselves at home or in the library and still improve their performance. The researchers wrote about their findings in the journal Science. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. Tell us how you deal with anxiety before a big event. Share your comments at voaspecialenglish.com or on Facebook and Twitter at VOA Learning English.